Did you know that one of those questions you will hardly miss in any Scrum interview is tell me about how you will measure your team performance. In this video, I'm going to answer this question in different dimensions. Now, the first dimension, I want to talk about why matrices are very important in Scrum and why you will hardly miss this question in an interview. And then I'm going to discuss 8 key different matrices that you can use, but I'll also give you the top 3 that you should use during your interview. I'll talk about how to collect these matrices, and also I'm going to talk about how to use these metrics in order to continuously improve on your team. And then lastly, I'll talk about how do you balance qualitative and quantitative interview. Happy Monday. I am super excited that you are joining us today in the Scrum Chat Room. Weekly, we share those powerful tips that will help you close that Scrum Master job in less than no time. Before we move ahead, make sure you click the subscribe button, make sure you like, and drop a comment. Dropping a comment help other people to see the video. And sometimes when you reach out to me, that I have seen your comment, and definitely most often I create some time to respond to your comment. Now, without wasting much time, let us go into our video for today. Tell me how you measure team performance. Now, why is this question so common in interview? Remember, Scrum is customer-centric, and Scrum also use iterative development, which means that Scrum measure result in shorter cycle called sprint. So we're showing result to customer every 2 weeks. So the question is, how do we know that we are doing well? In most of the cases, you will not need to wait until you meet your customer before your customer tell you if you're doing well or not. So there need to be some internal way for you to measure how you are going to evaluate your team performance. So we have what we call the quantitative matrices, which you can use within your team in order to measure performance. Now, one of those quantitative metrics is what we call the Burndown Chart. Right, the Burndown Chart is a very powerful chart in Scrum. And the Burndown Chart, what it does is that it simply helps you to monitor exactly how your team is performing during the sprint. So if you can see my screen, the Burndown Chart is going to show you right here. You see, it will show you the blue line. It's kind of ID. This is the expectation. Every time your team complete a piece of work, there's a drop down, there's a drop down, there's a drop down. We expect that by the end of the spring, it should be completed with the work. But what happens if the work is not completed? You probably see a chart hanging up here. You realize that you will not complete the chart. So the bend down chart help your team to be able to see, help you to be able to see as you're progressing how the work is moving towards the end. Now, another popular chart you will hardly miss, which you should talk about always, is the velocity chart. Now, when we talk about the velocity chart, it's very simple. You committed to 20 story point. How many do you complete at the end of the sprint? Now, the velocity chart tells you how much you committed versus completed. Right here in sprint 1, we committed to about, let's say, 16 items. We completed 16. Sprint 2, we committed to about 19 items. We only completed about somewhere around 13. You see right here, sprint 3, we committed more. We completed less. Now, this is typically for every team because we are expecting that as the team continues to do the work, the team get more experience, right? The team is gaining more experience, and because of that, they should do more. So that expectation as your team is becoming performant, they can take on more work. Now, the next metrics which I want us to focus on is called the spring report. The spring report, many people, especially those who have actually not worked in a Scrum environment, we hardly talk about the spring report, but it's one of those matrices that is going to actually give you a summary of everything that you have completed during the sprint. Now, a spring report, what it does, if you can see my screen, a spring report shows you everything that happened during the sprint. This one shows that we have work coming in and out. That's why you have like zigzag, up and down, bend down chart. Normally, we expect that If you don't have scope in the screen during the sprint, your chart should go smoothly like this brown line, right? A good gray or brown line. Now, but then they keep on adding scope. And you can see right here that they did not complete their work. Now, the sprint report is powerful because it shows you all the different product buy items that you committed to, and it shows you the status on how it was completed. And now you can also see on this spring report that some stories or okay, this is tax. There's a tax here. There was no estimate. There's a bug here. There was an estimate. Another one here, there's an estimate. It can kind of just give you an idea of what type of team you're working with, what are some of the challenges of this team. And it also gives you exactly, this is it. The spring started on the 19th, but it was planned on the 21st. You see, it can also show you that, hey, you guys started this spring early and it was supposed to start on the 21st. Now it ended on the 28th and it was planned to end on the 29th. So you can see the irregularities from the spring from the chart. So it's from the spring report. It's a very powerful tool. Now I want to talk about the Scrum board. The Scrum board is also powerful. The Scrum board will help you do more of what we call qualitative analysis. What is a Scrum board? It's very simple. Now remember, everything that is happening during your sprint is a result of how things are moving on your Scrum board, from to do to doing to done. You might have the QA column, you might have the in progress column, you might have the review column, based on how your Scrum board is structured. As an effective Scrum Master, you should monitor your Scrum board, right? Just monitor it. If by the end of the sprint, no work has been moved to done, you don't expect stuff to move on your Burndown chart. You don't need to go and start checking your Burndown chart to see if work has been completed. The Scrum board basically gives you a picture of all what is going on during the sprint. And that's why during your daily stand-up, what you share to your team in order to inspect and adapt is your Scrum board. Now, if you want to go a bit more deeper, you can talk about the cumulative flow chart. Now, the cumulative flow chart is more useful in a Kanban environment, but then you can also set your Scrum board to read a cumulative flow chart. And a cumulative flow chart, the reason why it's more powerful in a Kanban environment, because it shows you work over a larger period of time. It shows you different aspects, work in progress. It gives you lead time, cycle time, throughput, the work that is done, and all of that. You can see right here, right? It's a bit more complicated to read, but then if you're dealing with a Kanban team where you don't frequently measure performance, it's going to be a very good, powerful tool for you to use. Now, other qualitative matrices which you might also consider what we call stakeholder feedback. When you deliver at your sprint, what are the stakeholders saying? What are the feedback? You can also look at the defect ratio. What is the amount of bugs or technical debt that is coming back to your team? It also helps you know if your team is doing well or not. You can also look at communication and collaboration. It's a very powerful tool for me. When your team show up in events, are they just quiet? Are they talking about the work that they need to talk? Are they having feedback from each other? These are very powerful way for you to be able to measure your performance as a Scrum Master. Now, another one is what we call the happiness index. The happiness index, most often I talk about collaboration and communication. It simply means how well does your team understand what the work that they're doing, how are they engaged with the stakeholder, and how are they actually progressing with the work. How do we collect this data? Is this something you calculate manually with your hand? No, no, no. Based on the tool that you're using, is it Jira? Is it Azure DevOps? Is it Ravi? Is it Trello? It actually will generate this chart for you. So it's an output of what you are doing. Right. Now, as a Scrum Master, as an Agile coach, the reason why these tools are important because most often it's not for the customer. No, it's for the internal team. You look at what is going on and you can use that to evaluate your progress for the team. That's how powerful these tools are. Right. So They are very important for you internally. Right. And we must do well to balance both quantitative and qualitative. That's why most often you get a question, why is velocity not a true measure of progress? Velocity gives you a number, right? But then just assume that we committed to 20 story points this week, but we completed only 3. Now, if I look only at the velocity chart, I would say this team is a very poor team. They're not doing well. Maybe based on qualitative data, which is observation, the team was asked to stop work because they want to pull them to another team to support some work that had like urgent release. So because of that, they could not complete their work. But if I base my evaluation only on the quantitative data, I'm going to be giving a wrong judgment. All right, so this was kind of a vivid analysis why performance metrics are very important, why you will hardly miss this in an interview. So if this is kind of important for you, the 3 things I want you to do: number 1, share; number 2, like and drop a comment; and number 3, you're invited to join us in our community of practice. We have an amazing community that help you within 90 days. We prepare you not just to listen, but to be able to be the one presenting all this chat and talking like I am here talking. If that is you, send me a text message, and definitely I will be able to help you close that Scrum Master job in less than 90 days. I'll see you along the week for another session of the Scrum Chat Room. Do have a great week.